Johnny's in the basement mixing up the medicine. I'm on the pavement thinking about the Ess-Fo. This is Steve. Welcome to Ess-Fo, one of only a million places on YouTube where you can get recommendations for exciting new music, but it's the only place where we came up with the idea for a Curito spin-off called By Curito. What we're doing here, covering low-profile new music, could be seen by some as tantamount to covering the 13th round of the Major League Baseball entry draft, but only in excruciating detail. And that watching a young Alfred Hitchcock look-alike talk about music is about as compelling as watching a man on a recumbent bike chase down an ice cream truck. I do also listen to popular music. 9 years ago, I stood in Union Park in Chicago with 20,000 other people at the Pitchfork Festival with our ears assaulted all day by profane hip-hop, feedback experiments, and sound bleed incidents whereby a quiet artist on one stage could be 200 yards from another stage where they're doing bass drops. Yet we all stood together, unironically, singing along with R. Kelly to I Believe I Can Fly. Once again, I'd like to stress that popularity doesn't necessarily disqualify a song from Ess-Fo coverage. It just helps if instead of being popular in America, it was popular someplace like, I don't know, Belgium. Because that's where we're going to go to cover Stromae. And then after that, we're going to cross the channel, or Dunkirk style, this time with the Gloria Estefan Les Ibibio sound machine. Then we will flip hemispheres and international date lines to visit with Genesis Owusu in Australia. First, however, is one of my candidates for Song of the Year. Yeah, I said it. Monster Truck by King Garbage. My favorite Jay-Z album actually isn't one of his albums, but it's the infamous Danger Mouse mashup of Jay-Z and the Beatles known as the Grey Album. I was going to start a discussion about mashups in the past tense as if they are no longer done. You know, things like getting cigarette recommendations from doctors, naming a business a something, or having a real job. But it turns out that mashups are still a thing. The technology has come a long way from the low-tech marriages of the Strokes to Christina Aguilera or Prince to Public Enemy by the freelance Hellraiser, though the mashup superstar DJs such as Z-Trip and the Hood Internet have since more or less retreated to back behind the mixing boards. The technology has gotten so good that pretty much anyone can make impressive professional-sounding mashups, though the supply of good mashup ideas is running dry. I'd like to say that listening to the Grey Album was a throwback for me recently, but the problem I've encountered is that the bootleg I had in 2004 is apparently in the wrong order. So when I listened to it recently on YouTube, I grew disoriented and agitated, as if I was hearing Human Nature immediately after Beat It, or The Thing That Should Not Be right after Battery instead of Master of Puppets, or the sensation you get when you watch the edited version of The Usual Suspects.
Number one, step forward.
Hand me the keys, you fairy godmother.
Number two, step forward.
Give the freaking keys, you fairy godmother, brother bucket.
What I still love about listening to the Grey Album is being able to hear it as if looking into the cross-section of a building as the architecture unfolds, you know, familiar pieces being stacked in unexpected ways, like these wristwatches that are made from guitar parts or pornographic Legos. Monster Truck by King Garbage is like this too. On paper, it would seem more complicated than it sounds. Post-war blues, ivories, stripped-down quarter-note beat, and a brass with Tourette's siphoned from a 78 through a Victrola. You know, it's easy peasy. The vocals are tasked with getting the customers in the door, all jowled, southern rasp soaked in just enough barbecue sauce to muddle the quieter lines, supported by these TV on the radio style loops. This cocktail more or less swirls like a front-load clothes dryer. We speed up, we crash in slow-mo, we gather ourselves. Slightly after the 2-minute mark is the first hint of what we're really in for. Scattered but huge raindrops smack a tin roof. A slick electric piano solo arrives to distract us from the commotion, but it's way too late. The song gains speed again, and there's a primal scream that sounds like it's coming from a building down the street or a car a couple lanes over. There's a tension-stifling noise like someone's dropping bolts into a metal bucket and lug nuts in a coffee can. And then, I don't know, for some reason I think it's about sex. The most bizarre backhanded compliment I can pay it is that I hesitated before posting the review on Instagram in February. I assumed King Garbage was more popular than I knew, and that suddenly the webs would be flush with glowing reviews, and I didn't want to be just another voice in the paste echo chamber. This hasn't happened yet, inexplicably. The album Heavy Metal Greasy Love was released in April on Mike Patton of Faith No More's Ipecac Records. Links are below. Check it out. I think you'll love it. Life hack. Whenever you get tired of stupid lyrics on your favorite top 40 station, but you still want to hear modern sounds, flip over to a station that plays music in a language you either don't understand or is sung too fast for you to fully comprehend, like Spanish. Señorita by Shawn Mendes and Camila Cabello is single-handedly responsible for me spending much of 2019 and 2020 listening to 93.5 Latino Mix and 107.9 La Le in Chicago. I learned in 2002 when the movie Crossroads came out starring Britney Spears that movie studios actually keep certain scripts on a shelf in their pockets, more appropriately, to capitalize on newly found stardom like Britney's was back then. When it was announced that Shawn Mendes and Cabello were an item, I had a sneaking suspicion that this song had been lying in wait for such a young couple. And this song was just a nightmare. I love it when you call me Señorita. What inflection could Shawn Mendes possibly bring to that word that would make it sexy? He wouldn't say it as Señorita. Would it be, hey, Señorita? Or Señorita? Or, hi, Señorita? Hey, Señorita, what's happening? Like, how? How is that a song concept? Actually, speaking of Camila Cabello, if you watch the Champions League final this year, which was hosted poorly by Paris, you saw that the opening performance was by her, and she did this whole Cuban theme in a match between a Spanish team and an English team hosted by France, and none of the players was from Cuba. I'm not even sure they play soccer football in Cuba. It's a baseball country. While watching this display by Cabello in the opening sequence, I was searching my mind for a popular Francophone artist that sang in French, and I came up with Charles Aznavour, who wasn't French, Edith Piaf, and maybe you could squeeze Vous êtes so by Nina Simone in there. But this long list of results needs a filter, and so we applied the parameter of still living and couldn't come up with anyone. If they wanted someone theatrical, they could have just looked over the border to Belgium and invited Stromae to perform L'Enfer. The UEFA anthem is notoriously ridiculed for its Wagnerian ostentatiousness, and so L'Enfer would be a suitable substitute for its stately elegance. The song is about mental health issues and thoughts of suicide, which, okay, you got me. Maybe not football related, but neither is the Cuban Republic. The song has many impressive elements to it. It has these huge string orchestral parts, influences from dubstep, and then Stromae's vocal is soulful but sort of detached because of his predicament. But L'Enfer, it's brilliant. The album Multitude is out now, and Stromae will play coastal U.S. dates in October and November. The links for everything else are below. Ibibio Sound Machine is opening for Coldplay and Her at Wembley later this year, which is an announcement I had to read twice. All my life I've been doing double takes regarding show openers. I read a concert bill as if it's the menu for a multi-course meal and react as if watermelon salad is being served as an appetizer for borscht. I was 9 at my first concert. My family flew out to Las Vegas because my grandmother had never been there and always wanted to go. I don't know what she did when she was there. My memory is of me and my brother being sent to the video arcades with little bags of grandma-supplied quarters. To my knowledge, Grandma wasn't a gambler. She didn't throw money away. In fact, after she died and my mom worked in cleaning out her flat, she found birthday cards and other Christmas gifts and things like that with the money still in them because she threw nothing away. I can only imagine her suitcase on the way home from Las Vegas was filled with all those flyers you pick up on the strip. Anyway, I don't remember her being at the Righteous Brothers concert with us. This was 3 years before Ghost came out, but 2 years after Top Gun, so the Brothers Righteous were firmly back on the American radar. The opener, however, was the 60s novelty act Paul Revere and the Raiders, whose sole mechanism for warming up the audience was shooting blanks from a revolver at a Energizer bunny or something similar. They had a monkey with cymbals that they put on top of the drum set, and then they shot it. That was basically their performance. The first concert I attended with friends as a teenager was Aerosmith at an outdoor stadium, though the main reason we went was because Megadeth was the opener. Granted, it was the newly wussed out Black Album aping Megadeth, but my abiding memory of that show was watching In My Darkest Hour being played in broad daylight. So having mismatched artists on a concert bill is really nothing new to me. I really shouldn't be so surprised. Coldplay, aka Radiohead's High and Dry Run Amok, has previous history in this regard. I saw them in 2008 at the United Center, and Santigold cut a very lonely figure in that stadium on that stage, and especially this was going on as the United Center was buying drinks and finding its seat. But that doesn't dampen the impression for me that Ibibio opening for Coldplay is a lot like Rage Against the Machine opening up for Barry Manilow. About 20 years ago, I was changing trains in a German station, and I was very disoriented by the shrill barking of a woman's voice over the PA with track numbers and departure times in that buttery voice we know as German. It inflicted an unnecessary stress on an already fraught situation, and it made me imagine of what it would have been like during the chaos of a World War II air raid and people hurriedly seeking cover and going underground. I want to thank Ibibio Sound Machine Eno Williams for bringing me back to that memory via the imperious performance of hers on Protection from Evil. She presides over a taut Renegades of Funk style groove that takes sadistic pride in escalating the fraud atmosphere. She might be reciting an incantation or an enchantment. The band is unfazed, the weight builds, and then we dance. Schnell, baby, Schnell. The band is on tour right now. Its latest album, Electricity, came out on Merge Records in May, and links are below. Yes, it's that time of the episode where we turn our eyes to Australia. This is my 7th YouTube episode, and this song will be the 5th by an Australian artist that I have covered. I was very much an Anglophile when the century began, but I don't feel like becoming an Aussophile or Australophile anytime soon. Although, I did just write a review of the new Ocean Alley single on Instagram. I recently rewatched The Dish, and I saw Nick Cave in concert in March. Merde. According to Owusu, Australia is weighing on his mental. Take a listen.
On my neck with a chain till it runs. Goatee still sitting on the bus. I ain't crack rock sitting on the cusp. Dirty look turning stand to a punch. Black dogs.
Black Dog is a recurring theme for Owusu. His backing band is also called the Black Dogs, and he has another song called The Other Black Dog. In Australia, Black Dog is a reference to psychological problems and depression. In fact, one of its most prominent Treatment and Study Centers is called the Black Dog Institute. When I first heard the song, my initial reaction was to spin Owusu 180 degrees and see where they put the batteries in him. In only 2 minutes, Black Dogs contorts itself around a greasy Gang of Four style bass line with a kineticism somewhere between Busta Rhymes, David Byrne, and Ash breaking plates over his head in Evil Dead 2. The relentless beat also recalls Collard Greens by Schoolboy Q and Don't Die by Killer Mike. But the lyrics actually contain shades of There Goes the Neighborhood by Ice-T's metal band Body Count. What's driving Owusu crazy is the eyes he feels on him each time he wears his black skin out in public. It's a pressure he's struggling to process, and it's beginning to tear at him. So, like he said in the other Black Dog, maybe the only solution is just to dance it off like he does in the video. Anyway, it's an electric song. Owusu is a very versatile artist. I don't know if you saw him when he was on the Stephen Colbert Show, I think when this album first came out. But he can sing, he can rap, he can bark. He's incredible. He'll be at Lollapalooza, and then he'll play select U.S. cities later in the summer. The album Smiling with No Teeth was released in 2021 on Ourness and House Anxiety Records. Links are below. Okay. Click like, click subscribe. Visit all the links, all of them. Support music. Check out my Instagram for some newer reviews, and stay tuned for upcoming episodes that will be featuring artists such as Mega, Renata Zeiger, Tess Roby, and Charlotte Adigeri. Yo.